At its very foundation, Windows has been a place to unlock creativity.
It's an incredibly exciting time to be a developer, and the opportunities to explore new approaches and new technology has never been greater.
I'm really excited to see so many developers talking about Windows.
It's been opening my mind to new ideas and to new things that I could do.
Finding new ways to inspire creativity and innovation.
All of these experiences that we're trying to generate can be built upon.
We're continuing to advance these platforms, continuing to advance this opportunity.
Microsoft produced a better solution for us.
Just a way to be very fluid in your workflow.
It's not the same old thing over and over.
Magic.
If it's that quick and that easy and that powerful, it opens up a lot of doors for you.
It's just fantastic.
All creators want is to create, and we are helping them to stay creative, be creative.
Please welcome Kevin Gallo, Corporate Vice President of Windows Developer Platform.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Windows Developer Day. I have the privilege of talking with you today about what's new for developers in the upcoming release of Windows 10, the Fall Creators Update. Our goal with each update is to inspire the creator in all of you, unlocking your creativity so you can build applications that change the way people work, play, and interact with the world around us. Building for Windows platform has always been a community effort. Your input, suggestion, ideas, and feedback are inspiring and invaluable. Thank you for partnering with us. Windows 10 adoption has been incredible, with more than 500 million active devices. We are always also seeing devices staying current with the latest updates faster than ever, with the majority of devices running the latest updates in less than 6 months, and more than 80% of devices on the latest update in less than 1 year. The Windows 10 Fall Creators Update will be available worldwide on October 17th, and I'm proud to announce that today you can download the new SDK. While we've added thousands of new features and capabilities to the platform, today we're going to focus on 3. The next chapter for Windows Mixed Reality, how to build applications for the modern workplace, and new features we're introducing to both build and monetize your games. Now, let's kick it off with Windows Mixed Reality. I believe deeply that the platform and experiences we build need to place people at the center. Too many times we ask people to learn how to work with technology instead of the technology adapting and learning how to work with us. Mixed reality is the next wave in our journey to bring together the digital and physical world, optimized around human interaction and collaboration. This is why we designed Windows 10 from the ground up to natively support mixed reality. Last week, we announced the next wave of Windows mixed reality devices, both VR headsets and motion controllers. In order to create a broad market opportunity for our developers, we continue to work and partner with partners like Dell, Lenovo, HP, Acer, and as we announced last week, Samsung. These headsets work with mainstream PCs, are super simple to set up, and affordable, starting at $399. Basically, all you have to do is plug the HDMI and USB cables into your laptop, and you're ready to go. No need for a bunch of cameras to drill holes in the walls. You open the box, plug it into your PC, and it just works. Couldn't be simpler. Now also, developing applications for VR headsets and HoloLens has never been easier, as Windows Mixed Reality simply builds on the Universal Windows platform and the Fluent design system. We've added new APIs for gaze, gestures, and 3D, enabling you to build a single optimized user experience for both VR and HoloLens. You can even share a bunch of your business logic with your 2D UWP application. Let's see what our partner, Black Marble, is doing with Windows Mixed Reality and the Universal Windows platform.
The idea of policing is not to decide whether someone's guilty or not. It's to gather all the evidence that is applicable and then allow someone else to take an objective view. And a lot of that is people moving paper. It's very expensive. It's expensive to employ people to move paper and check it. I was faced with something like a 25% cut in my budget, and I didn't want to reduce my operational capability. So I was looking elsewhere and saying, well, okay, where can I find best value out of what I'm spending money on?
He had a very, very simple, straightforward vision. He wanted to enable cops to be better cops.
Gradually, we got rid of paper. You no longer need to employ people to check the work.
2Serve runs on, well, any Windows device you like. It's Universal Windows platform. One of the key points is how straightforward it's been to transition through into what we now have as the Universal Windows platform. You really can do complex, powerful line of business apps with UWP. It's already out there in use on Windows tablets, Windows laptops, Windows phones. We have an evaluation running right now of 2Serve on HoloLens.
HoloLens is a fascinating opportunity to link into things like 2Serve.
I can put my HoloLens on and we can use the technology in the HoloLens to map the room. I can start to outline evidence in the room.
I think there's some huge opportunities to harness that. Having the Black Marble 2Serve front end that we developed together allowed me to start to look at making some serious choices about where I was spending the public's money. Just with the very, very first iteration, it was keeping police officers out of the police station for an hour and a half per shift per day. So I used to talk about the currency in policing not necessarily being just the amount of money I had or the number of people I had. It was actually the number of operational hours available.
We started on Windows 8 and we've drawn all the way through to Windows 10. And if you look around Black Marble, you find that we've got Windows phones, we've got Surface Hub, we've got HoloLens. And it's great that we can take the same code and run on all of those devices. And now we take that same message out to our customers that we can develop once. And you've got a great return on investment that as you buy new devices and new form factors, you can be comfortable that we have to do far less work with UWP to make it run on the new device. The great user experience that we can build with the applications is just fantastic.
Please join me in welcoming Robert Hogue, Managing Director at Black Marble.
Thank you, Kevin. We're so proud of what we've achieved with 2Serve so far. Right now, 2Serve is helping police officers protect millions of citizens 24/7, all delivered through a true enterprise-grade UWP application. We built 2Serve to deliver on phone and tablet, laptop, large screens such as the Surface Hub, but also on HoloLens, in 2D and 3D. In 2D, we have large maps and screens delivering command and control services in a briefcase, not an Arctic. And 3D, as you just saw, doing evidence gathering. But we're actually now looking to innovate with the new mixed reality headsets to deliver that evidence back into the courtroom to recreate evidence scenes exactly are in 3D. UWP is an amazing platform for the enterprise and has allowed us to reuse code across all device types quickly and easily.
Very exciting. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
This is a great example of how technology and the Universal Windows platform are changing the world we live in. Now, let's change gears from mixed reality and talk about how Windows is helping businesses through their digital transformation. To tell us more, please welcome Andrew.
Thanks, Kevin. On your journey to your digital transformation, we know you'll be modernizing your application. That often means modernizing your installer, your data layer and business layers, and embracing the cloud and AI to drive engaging experiences in your application. Whenever we talk about modernizing, we hear loud and clear that you want to preserve your code investments. There are millions of lines of code written in Win32 and .NET, and we love that code as much as you do. We also realize that you have to maintain a common code base so you can meet your customers where they're at today. Now, you may not think about it, but the first introduction for your customers to your application is when they're installing it. And think about that. How many times have customers failed to install your application and you're losing them at the first hurdle? So how can we change that and make that better for you? The first step to doing that is upgrading to a more reliable and efficient installer tech. The Windows deployment system that we've built into Windows 10 is designed to ensure that all applications are seamlessly and reliably installed, and if needed, uninstalled in a way that guarantees the app will be 100% removed. Now, once users you've built this great application, you want to ensure that users can trust your application. So that they, especially in today's society, it's really important they do that more than ever. The Microsoft Store and the Microsoft Store for Business ensures that these applications can't be spoofed with malware and that the application has never been tampered with. So we believe that this will dramatically increase users' trust in applications and they'll feel confident installing your app more often. And once they've installed your application, it's important you keep users up to date. It not only ensures they get the latest bug fixes, but also get the latest features you've been working so hard on. Now, the key to enabling this in the system is that the system should automatically keep your users up to date. Today, many applications have their own updater. I'm sure you've all seen those annoying prompts to update. It makes your PC run slower over time, and frankly, users hate them. The Windows deployment system seamlessly updates applications, so those updater applications can finally be a thing of the past. Now, modernizing your installer is the first step to take advantage of the new capabilities in Windows 10. But really, to ensure that you can do that easily from your existing application, we introduced the Desktop Bridge. The Desktop Bridge allows you to use that new installer, but it also unlocks the ability for you to take advantage of all the new capabilities we'd added in Windows 10. Be that platform APIs like Windows Hello, the Fluent design system, and the great things for customer engagement like notifications. Now, rather than talk about this, I'm going to show you how you can go do this. Okay, so here I have an application that the Contoso organization, those of you who are familiar with Microsoft, Contoso comes back, and they have a head-tracks application which they use to allow their employees to move offices, to work out who's working for who. Now, this head-tracks app was written back in 2001 when .NET first came out. Still being used. It's vital to this business that they can get it to work. Now, how can we make that application move to using our new installer? Now, we provided the desktop application converter in the creators update, and a lot of you liked that, and it was a great way for you to convert your installer. But the feedback we got is it didn't really fit with your development lifecycle too great. So with the full creators update and the Visual Studio update that was released today, we have a new project that makes it super simple for you to do that. So here I have my existing WinForm app. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say add new project. And here's the Windows application packaging project. Click OK. I'm going to choose the latest SDK. And now it's created me that project. And I have to tell the project which application should it go and package up. So I'm just going to add a reference to the applications. And this automatically notices that head-tracks is already part of my solution. So I'll just click OK on that, check that, click OK, and I'm done. Now, just by adding that and clicking one thing, I now have an AppX that's going to be created for me. So I can just right-click on this, select the store menu, and say create Apex package, just as you would do for any other UWP. Now, I could submit this to the store, which would be great. I could get a store identity. I could use all of the great store APIs. But in this case, I'm going to do it such that this application package I'm going to create, I can use from the store, but also I can deploy locally inside of my enterprise. Here I have standard information. Seems like version 10 should be the right version number for this new version. So I'm going to click that, click create. And what it's doing right now is building me that AppX, and should finish in a couple of seconds, if the demo gods are with me. Click on this, and I just look inside the folder, and I have an AppX I can just double click on and install. I don't have to do anything from this way forward. It's just going to automatically create that every time I create a new version of the application. So you don't have to go right and you install it. It just does it for you. Now, I've actually put this one in the store, so we can take a look at the, I just submitted the AppX like I would submit any other AppX into the store. Now, the great thing about the store is, of course, it keeps me up to date, but it also provides the user's ability to give me some feedback, which I don't know about you. I wasn't thinking about when I was writing apps in 1999, 2000, about how I get user feedback. And I get analytics and crash dumps. So let's take a look at what people think of it. Well, 2 stars. Oh, that's not so good. So I like the app, but the UI isn't so great. And I really want to filter by manager, and I love this on my phone. So this is great. It's given me an opportunity to really listen to my customers and do something good. So what I want to do is start modernizing this application. And if you notice over here, I'm actually going to load up Headrax 2017. And what I've started to do here is I'm really starting to use .NET Standard 2.0 to really help me reuse my code across a number of different UIs and experiences. So I have a Contoso data layer, which is just, I have a data model, which is pure C#. And the great thing about this, of course, I can run it on my desktop app, I can run it on my mobile app, I can also run it in the cloud too. I can use that same code and reuse it wherever I want. So here's my Contoso desktop app. And if I look at my reference, sure enough, there's the Contoso data. But you also notice I'm using the Telerik UI controls. Now, those of you familiar with this, Telerik UI controls are great. One, they're free, which is price to sell, but they also give you a whole bunch of functionality just free. You just drop it into your form, and away you go. So let's take a look at this application. So here's my app, and you notice I actually have all the information automatically available to me, and it's categorized by manager. Now, I didn't have to do anything to categorize. I just drag and dropped it, and automatically it categorizes that for me. Now, the other thing we've been getting feedback from users, they like master detail. Who doesn't like a master detail enterprise app? That's kind of classic. So when I click on this, then now using the more fluent design system, it automatically gives me the user's information on the right-hand side. But we also found that oftentimes people are looking at multiple employees, and they would get lost as they were clicking around. So I can now click on this pin, and I'm using the new compact view that's available in the 4 creators update, so that this window will stay always on top, no matter if I'm clicking on new customers and employees below that. So allowing the user to really stay focused on what they want to go do. Now, I'm going to close these ones down here. Now, if you remember, the feedback they're also providing is they really wanted the mobile experience. So if I flip back to Visual Studio, you notice that I have an Android and an iOS project. Now, these Android and iOS projects are using Xamarin. But again, Xamarin is using .NET Standard 2.0 as well. So when I look inside of my Android app, if I look inside the references, then sure enough, there's that Contoso data. I'm using the same data access layer across all my devices and all my PCs. The other thing to notice here is that in my view, I'm using XAML to create a mobile experience that is really targeted to look and feel how I'd expect it to be on a mobile. And I can reuse that XAML in my Android and in my iOS project. Now, the best way to show you this is actually to show it on device. So I'm going to switch to my trusty Android app, Android phone, which looks shockingly like Visual Studio. Maybe it's Android 9. Are we going to switch to the phone? Oh, phone got disconnected. Okay, well, the Android phone is not going to work, so we're going to switch back to the slides to keep us back on track. Oh, there it is. It came. So you're going to be stunned by the UI in my XAML skills. It's been well worth the wait. So, and here it is. Oh, well, hey. Oh, it's back. I really wish it was better than you. So after all that, we really do need to go to the slides now. So the great thing here is, of course, I'm using XAML, and I can modernize my application to ensure that I'm really meeting the users where they are. So when you modernize it, it's really simple to do. You just have to add that project, and you get a better installer. It just makes your app better. Your app's going to install better. It's going to run better. And because it's coming from a trusted source, users will love and trust your application more. And of course, your app will be store ready. Now, let me introduce Paul, who's going to show you how to really get your users to love your application by building a better UI than I did using Fluent.
Thanks. Hi. Building a good user experience can be hard. UX is where art and science come together, and you have to often connect the dots between difficult technical problems like, how do I virtualize this data source? How do I architect my apps so that I'm not blocking the UI thread with these network calls I'm making? And nuanced experiential questions like, how does this UI make you feel? Do you like it? Is it beautiful? Is it easy to use? And no doubt, every developer in this room and out there has at times wished they could make their UX better. And with the Fluent design system, we're trying to help all of you and us to create the very best user experiences in a way that's easy, straightforward, and flexible. And our first wave of Fluent is part of the fall Creators Update and the APIs and the things associated with it so that you can start to take advantage of that. And beyond the basics of a design system, Fluent's really here to help focus on a few things. First, helping you create experiences that feel natural on each device. Second, helping people to achieve more, and I'll talk about what I mean by that in a moment. And ultimately, helping create experiences that customers really love to use. And so let's talk about those. Let's talk about experiences that feel natural on each device. For us, that means the devices where your apps run today, desktops, laptops, tablets, convertibles, televisions with Xbox for many of you. But it also means emerging devices in the spectrum, things like large screen touch devices like the Surface Studio we have right here on stage. Mixed reality headsets like the one Kevin showed earlier, or even devices with no screens at all. And it means thinking about how you interact with those devices and the different inputs you use. The familiar inputs we all use today, mouse and keyboard, touch, game controller, as well as the spectrum of new inputs that are emerging and being used more, like voice, pen, dial, and 6-DoF controllers, gaze, and eye tracking, sensors and presence. And how can we have a design system that really helps you not just make experiences that work great across them, but actually on each and every device, and each and every configuration and input that people are actually using, have an experience that really feels native and natural and great. The second thing we're focusing on with Fluent is helping you create experiences that help people to achieve more. Not just experiences where people can consume content, although that's great and it's great for that, but also experiences where people create, where people express themselves, where experiences where people need to work and want it to be efficient. Sophisticated business applications, and having a design system that can scale to those needs as well. And third, we're focusing on, and this is the part that all of us, I think, resonate in a more emotional way with, experiences that customers love to use. With Fluent, we're trying to leverage our human understanding of the real world around us and the intuitions and the experiences we've had in that world to create a system that's effortless, that reduces cognitive load, that draws you in and immerses you. It uses things like light and depth and motion and materials. Fluent takes the digital techniques that in the past were once reserved for video games or major motion pictures and makes them easily accessible and part of every app's experience, an inherent part of the system. And I think the best way to understand this is to see it in action. And so let's take a look at a video. And that fun video, by the way, is all clips of real experiences that are shipping on top of the very same platform and guidelines and features that we're making available for all of you. And with Fluent, we're trying to provide a comprehensive solution for user experience creators. That means a library of controls and UI building blocks sitting on top of a layered and powerful platform with all the raw capabilities you need. It means great guidelines that are comprehensive and cover a lot of the cases that matter to people and samples that make it easy to implement those and reuse code. It means great support in design tools. And so if you work with or have designers who work with things like Adobe XD and Illustrator, there's kits for all of those types of design tools and many others to make it easy to quickly put together an experience, as well as great dev tool support and things like the real-time debugging and live edit and continue with Visual Studio so that you can have a real dynamic application with animations and things going on in real-time edit and modify and debug that and work with that app. Beyond that, it means, we call showcase experiences, but really it means Microsoft's own experiences, the apps and experiences that we create on Windows, on Xbox, on HoloLens, and all of our premier first-party experiences that we make that showcase and use Fluent and can serve as an inspiration, as an example for people of how to do that. And it also means having some great end-to-end samples that show how easily you can put these things together. And I'd actually like to show one to you now over here. So let's go take a look. This is the, once it's showing here, yeah, this is the Buildcast app. It's a sample that I think shows the kinds of experiences you can create pretty easily with the Fluent design system. It's a sample we've shown before at Build when we first introduced Fluent. And actually today, at this very moment, my colleagues in Redmond are publishing the source code online. So you can actually go and look at that and see how easy it is to create this. And I just want to call out a few different elements of Fluent in it that the system really helped make easy. The first thing I want to point out is this pane on the left-hand side here. A lot of apps have to deal with navigation. Simple apps and certainly complex apps have a lot of different screens that in parts of the app you need to get to. And so Fluent has a navigation view control now that makes that easy. So you can click on the different sections of this app. This is a podcast browsing app, and you can take notes and favorite things and so forth. So it gives you a great kind of home for those that's really dense. You can imagine a lot of links fitting there for a really sophisticated app. It also is great for an app with just a few links. And it works with keyboard as well as mouse the way you'd expect. So you can start arrowing through there. And here I'm a big nerd, so I use keyboard arrows all the time to go navigate around and so forth, as well as touch. And touch, you'd want to use on a screen this size if it's a touch screen, but certainly on laptops, more and more laptops now, have touch. There's more than 100 million Windows devices with touch, and so it's optimized for that as well. And if I'm going to go resize the window now. And so while it's helping work well in this environment here, if I make the screen smaller, you'll see it kind of snaps down to a sliver view. It even goes all the way down to a hamburger button alone. So if you're multitasking on a tablet or a laptop, for example, but you still have all the functionality, all the ability to get to all the links. So it's very functional, scales to a lot of the kinds of scenarios that I've talked about. But now I want to draw your attention not to just what the UI does, but to how it does it, and point out a few things. First, just look at how, when I click on this hamburger button, how the pane animates in smoothly, nicely. You'll see across Fluent and all the controls and the building blocks and the guidelines, lots of use of motion that just make things feel seamless and integrated for users. Another thing you'll notice is if you look at the background of this pane here, it's not a solid color. So, for example, you can see this icon here of this podcast kind of shining through a little bit in the pane. So what's going on there? Instead of using a solid color, this is taking advantage of another element of Fluent called acrylic material. And materials are the idea of, instead of just using colors and solid pictures to paint your UI, being able to use complex visual effects graphs, things that include blurs and blend modes and other compositional effects, and simulate real-world materials as a basic building block of your UI. And this is not just delightful and fun for a user and looks nice, but really helps with things like information hierarchy, helps you create a sense of layering, helps you provide continuity and experience. And so acrylic material and materials in general, a great tool that Fluent makes available for you in developing an app. Another thing I want to point, and it's also very brandable. Sometimes people say to me, oh, does this mean it's just your one branding? But you can go and customize the way these things look and apply even a custom, blues your brand or whatever, and you still maintain the materiality and all those other benefits of it. But I kind of like the dark theme, so I'm going back to that one. Another aspect about how it works that I want to point out is something called reveal highlight. And so one of the challenges you have with UI design is how do you let people know what's interactive on the screen without overwhelming them with millions of flashing things and lines all over the UI that actually distract from the main thing you're trying to do. And so reveal highlight is one of the things we built into the Fluent design system that helps with that. And so I'm going to use the pen to illustrate this because it's one of the most, I find, enjoyable ways to do it. And so as my pen approaches the screen, you'll see that there start to be, it's not a static cover state, but it just starts to kind of reveal what's going on, what's interactive around there. So if I move near that hamburger button, you can see its kind of border becomes revealed, and you can start to understand that's the thing I'll be able to interact with. And this reveal highlight interaction model works with pen, it works with mouse, it works with touch. It even works with things like gaze if you're running this app on a mixed reality environment. And so it's another aspect of the system that helps you create apps that are richer, that unify across inputs, and just feel great to go and use. And I'm going to slow press because I like to do that just to show off a little bit of the effect. But something that once you really experience firsthand just changes the bar of your expectations in a great way. Another thing I want to show in this app, there's so many things I want to show, is what I call connected animations. So as I navigate around the app, like I'll click on this channel 9 channel here, and then I'll click on some video. You'll see that as I move back and forth through the app, or I'll click on this channel, elements from one screen stay around and morph to their right place on the next screen. Okay, so here I'm going to find Project Rome. I think Andrew might be in this video clip here. As I move back and forward, those elements stay around on screen. This is something called connected animations, and it really helps you create a sense of continuity in your app. Here's another one with Kevin. Both as you're navigating in and going back. And Fluent and the platform make it really simple to do these in an incremental way. You can add them on top of your existing navigation. And once you have an app that's Fluent, it really starts to feel quite different than navigating a website from the 90s where it's just this page break, page break, page break. You lose context as you're moving through. It creates that sense of continuity and helps you kind of stay immersed in the task. And the last thing I want to point out, and there's a lot of things, is something called gesture actions. And so I'm going to go here and you might have a long list of items in a list or something that you want to go and act on. And we all know of right-click, and getting a context menu is a way to do that today. So I can go and right-click on this, and I get a menu, and I can play or download or favorite it or whatever. With gesture actions, we're extending that to make it really efficient to do the most common actions on items with different inputs in a way that's input appropriate. And so for mouse, that's making it easy to have kind of hover buttons like this that work there. They also work with pen. And it also means with touch, things like swipe are now fully supported. And so it's really easy to create apps that work great and efficiently if you're using touch. And I can go favorite that one. Work great and efficiently if you're using mouse, keyboard, however you're interacting with the apps. So those are just a few things I wanted to demo. You should go install the app, check it out, look at the source code, and you'll see how easy it is and get to explore a lot more of the features of Fluent. And you don't just have to take my word for it, but we've started working with a bunch of partners who are taking advantage of Fluent, and one of them is Stars. And the Stars app provides a video premium subscription content from the Stars channel, including original series like Power, Outlander, shown here, American Gods, and Ash vs. Evil Dead. And Stars continually looks for ways to differentiate themselves and develop a best-in-class experience for their users on Xbox One. And help set the standard, Stars became an early adopter of the APIs that power Fluent, the rich dramatic effects and animations and things that I showed. And by implementing these APIs, they actually saw their engagement go up dramatically in their app, and their star rating go from 1.5 to 4.8 stars. And so I think that really shows the kind of impact investing in the user experience can provide for you. And Stars is now designing their customer experience with our Fluent APIs first. And once complete, they're going to make sure other platforms can have parity. And so I think there's some real opportunity there with Fluent to advance things for yourself. So I wanted to touch also on Windows Ink. I played with the pen a little bit in my demo. And I just want to let you know about some of the enhancements happening in the fall Creators Update around Windows Ink. You might not know this, but today, 93% of the US population uses an analog or digital pen every day. And every day, more and more people are adopting digital pens and using those and loving those. Since Windows Ink was introduced, we've more than doubled the number of devices that are pen capable. And Windows actually has more digital pens in active use than any other platform, more than Apple, more than Android. And there are 1,200 apps in the store that take advantage of pen, and 6 of the top 10 revenue-producing apps use Windows Ink. So we think this is a great thing that continues to help people differentiate, and so we're continuing to invest in it. And in the Fall Creators Update, we're making a number of improvements based on feedback from customers and developers around improving the pen user model, improving handwriting, and letting you do more with rich gestures and Smart Ink, and really modernizing this system. And so I want to show you these improvements in action with a demo. So let's get back over here. All right, and I'm just going to pop up the browser. There we go. Here's my pen. So if you've used the pen before, you'll know that in the past it's kind of simulated a mouse. And really what we've done now is made the pen a first-class input device in its own right. And so if you just put the pen down, you can pan documents, scroll them up and down easily, naturally, like you would with a finger. And the pen also has a little barrel button that's called on it, and if you hold that down, you can instantly select text. And so it's very efficient to both pan and select text, which is something you can't do that efficiently with touch or with mouse. With mouse, you can select text easily, but panning, you have to go to a scroll bar. With touch, you can pan easily, but selecting text, we all know what's involved in that. And so it really gives you a really great model for panning and interacting and selecting content. So that's one improvement I wanted to show that's great that's in the Fall Creators Update. Another one is around handwriting and input. So if I tap into a text box, you'll see now the handwriting panel shows up right next to that text box. You don't have to go find it somewhere else. The handwriting reco has gotten quite good. Even my horrible handwriting is recognized as Surface. I'll type Surface Studio, for example. We'll see if it recognizes that. Yeah. Thankfully, one of the improvements is that you can now just scratch things out and do other editing inline directly right in that handwriting panel. So if you got something wrong, or if you have the worst handwriting in the world as I do, you can get that fixed. You'll also notice that things like the autocomplete update in real time along with what you're typing, and as long as things are recognized. So it's a really great experience with pen. You never have to put the pen down, even if you're writing, if you're panning, if you're selecting, whatever you're doing. And these are all enhancements that are kind of built in to the core controls and the platform and the system. But I also want to show you, in addition to the work we've done in Windows itself, we've worked closely with a number of third-party developers to create unique and compelling experiences with pen. And the pen is great at a lot of different things, including writing complex equations, compositions, math, science, where the mouse and the keyboard and even touch kind of fall down. And so I'd like to show an app that helps do that, which is the Fluid Math app. And I'll also note on this that this is an app that helps with education, but studies have shown that handwriting increases memory and information retention by up to 29%. So if you think about an app for education, if you think about teaching kids things, pen and handwriting and ink can actually really help that and help with retention, in addition to being just great for things like math. And so this is a great app that you can write equations out, and you can do things like graph them just using simple gestures. So I'm going to graph that C and then add that A to that graph. So it's kind of easy to visualize these. But there's even more fun ways you can visualize once you're starting to have the pen. So I'm going to pick the draw pen here, and I'm going to bear with me while I draw a little turtle. It's a little blue turtle. You guys can tell me if you think it's a different animal. Here's a red turtle. All right, there we go. And I'm going to, just by annotating these, I'm going to connect them to these mathematical equations. So I'm going to connect the blue line to A, I think. So I'll mark that A. And I'm going to connect the red guy to C. And so just me typing that, drawing that little symbol, it connected the equations and the variables. And then you can actually run a simulation here. So I'm going to run it from t is 0 to t is 30. And we're going to watch as these race and visualize. I hope we'll all see that a quadratic equation ultimately goes much faster than a linear equation. And you can really experience that as someone learning math with a tool like this in a really novel and cool and innovative fun way, even if you're a terrible drawer. So that's fluid math and some of the great capabilities that Windows Ink lets you do. And we really look forward to working with so many of you and learning from everyone as we advance Fluent and advance Windows Ink to let you create even more compelling and better experiences. So thanks so much, and back to you, Kevin.
Thank you, Paul, for showing us how simple it is to create beautiful and engaging experiences using Fluent Design and Microsoft Ink. Next, I want to show you 2 ways that you can extend your customer engagement seamlessly across any device. The first one is what we call device relay, which allows me to continue what I'm doing right now, but on a different device. And activity feed, which allows me to pick up an activity I was doing in the past and continue it now or sometime in the future. So first, what can a developer do with device relay? You're able to extend your app experience to any of your devices, whether that's on Windows, iOS, or Android. We give you APIs to discover the devices around you, activate different processes or application on any of your devices, communicate between the devices in real time, and you can even set up multi-user sessions. Imagine, for example, you have a Photos app, and you want to quickly show your photos on a larger screen, like the TV connected to your Xbox. Or what if you want the phone in your hand to be the controller for an MR experience? We think these actions are something you'll do so frequently that we've built device relay directly into the OS. We've made it really simple to use in each and every one of your applications. So let's see it in action. So here I have my phone, and here I have my PC. And I've been reading in my Twitter app here one of the tweets I made this morning about basically Developer Day here, and some of the samples that you can go read and look at and try. So I want to go read them and demo it here, and then maybe I'll run Visual Studio and actually take a look at what some of the samples are. So now I can easily, from within the application, I say share tweet via, and I can go and you'll see there's a new option here called Continue on PC. Now, I can easily click that, and it'll go and continue on my PC, and it's a pretty good experience. But we announced an application that we shipped last week. We didn't ship it, we announced it last week that we're shipping Edge for iOS. And we've really made it seamlessly integrated into this browser on iOS. So you'll see here, I'm actually back at the same exact website and Twitter, looking at I keep looking at my tweets, I know. It's kind of a little vain right there, but hey, what else am I going to show? So I click here, and when I say share, it immediately brings up a dialog that lets me choose one of 2 things. First, do you want to continue right now on one of the devices that's around you? We go and we use a couple different mechanisms like Bluetooth proximity, or we look to see if you're on the same LAN, and we say, hey, here's the devices that are next to you. And click that again, sorry. Or I can click, and that'll let you look at those devices, or I can click continue later. And my demo here, I think I sat too long on that. Oh well. I will go back here, and what it would do, and I think it's actually done it now already, is it will bring up a notification here so I can just click on it and continue in my application right here on my PC. And I can click on the sample, go look at it here, go read a bunch, and I can also just run the samples and run Visual Studio. So while Device Relay it kind of makes you able to continue that activity right there from one device to the other that I'm moving between. Activity feed is kind of the counterpart to that. This allows me to pick up an activity that I've done in the past. So hey, I started something, I got distracted by my children, or coworker came in, and oh, I have to go back to an activity. So it lets me pick that up from somewhere in the past, and let me continue it right now on whatever device I choose. So the best way for me to demo this is with a feature we call Timeline that's going to be in our Insider builds fairly soon. That you can go try it for yourself. So first, the easiest way to get there is I launch Task View, and this has now been enhanced to have not just the processes and the apps that are running right now on my one device, but to show me everything I've done in the past. So I'll scroll to the bottom here, and you can see I've had basically a busy life the last few days. Back on Saturday, I was basically flying here, so I was you can see. Let me just point that here with my mouse. You can see I was looking at schedules. I was working on my blog for today, and of course I was reviewing the content for the keynote. And then on Sunday, I decided to check out what was around, see what I could go do, where maybe I'll eat, and I decided to watch a movie and to relax. And then yesterday, I need to go find and actually go to a restaurant. So I had been, kind of picking a restaurant. And so I kind of want to basically continue that and now maybe go look at the menu. So I can easily just click that link, and this is something I've done in the past, and it will immediately deep link directly to where I left off. And this is very important. As developers and app vendors, we try to always get our users to come back and continue with us and want to re-engage with your application. And there's no better way than helping them continue something they were doing in the past. Not, they can always launch something new. But by looking at my timeline, I directly deep linked, and now I can just continue. It shows the restaurant, it knows what I was, so I can get directions, I can look at the menu, and helps me really just re-engage with my activity. Now, it's not just about maybe personal things like where I'm going to eat, but it's also about how to help your employees and as a business continue to do the work that they're doing. So, for example, yesterday or today, this morning, I was thinking, I got a bunch of expenses. So I basically had to go log my expenses in my expense report. So you can see here, I have a bunch of expenses, things I've paid for. Some of these I'm sure I have to write off a little bit, but I'm going to use my phone, and I basically took pictures of a bunch of my receipts, and I can now go easily resume where I was, go log them. But I'm kind of lazy, and there's a whole lot of them, so I'm not going to do that right now. But the nice thing is, I know it's right in my timeline. I can just go pick it up later without having to go find the app, log in, and do a whole bunch of different details. So how does this timeline work? How do you, as a developer, leverage the work that we're doing there or do the same thing in your own applications? Basically, Activity Feed powers this, and Activity Feed is this powerhouse behind it. It's a cloud service that Microsoft has built where developers can store what we're calling a unit of engagement in the Microsoft graph. Think of it like a fancy URI with some metadata and a cool visual. You can just publish that to the activity feed, and bam, users can easily get back to whatever they were doing in your application. So what makes a good user activity? The example I gave there was a good one because I wanted to just get back to where I was going. And I saw that. I knew that that was where I was going, so it made me go back. So it should be something your users want or expect to continue doing or to resume doing. You don't want to be too granular. You don't want every button click, or it'll just be too busy, and users will just ignore it. And we know sometimes you just have so many notifications, forget it. Clear them all and ignore them. So you want to pick that right granularity. Pick an important event that they'll want to continue and make it really stand out with cool visuals. Now, just to summarize, in the Fall Creators Update, we're providing 3 key technologies to help you modernize your applications. A modern installer, modern UI controls with Fluent Design, and this seamless cross-device engagement with Device Relay and Activity Feed. So now I want to switch up a little bit, and we're going to talk about what's new for game developers in the Fall Creators Update. To do that, I want to welcome Erin to the stage.
Thank you, Kevin. As you can see, we've made another investment in the promise to open up Xbox to UWP game developers who want to build immersive experiences. Thanks to the expanded resources feature in the Fall Xbox One update, developers will automatically have access to 6 exclusive cores, 5 gigabytes of RAM, and full access to the GPU with DirectX 12. This will make it easier and faster than ever before to create a single UWP package built for desktop and compatible with Xbox. We are very excited to see how creators take advantage of this extra power and bring more variety and creativity to Xbox One. We designed Visual Studio 2017 with game developers in mind. We built a brand new workload-based installer which optimizes the install experience for game developers, so you get everything you want and nothing you don't need. There are game development with C++ and game development with Unity to choose from. Visual Studio fully integrates with DirectX as well as Unreal Engine, Unity, and Cocos game engines. You can enhance your productivity by leveraging the powerful editing tools and by using the world-class VS Debugger to catch issues quickly. We have the tools to help you create great games. Let's watch a quick video to see some of the UWP games created recently. We recently launched the Xbox Live Creators Program, and this is one of my personal favorites. What I love about this program, and what should excite all of you, is that it is open to anyone who is developing on Windows 10 PCs or the Xbox One family of devices. With the Creators Program, you do not have to go through content approval, and you have simplified certification, making it easier than ever to build and publish games. Additionally, you're able to leverage Xbox Live features like stats, leaderboards, and cloud saves. This is the first time we have opened Xbox Live features to all developers. And the more Xbox Live services you incorporate, the greater you can engage your players. For example, adding leaderboards can further engage your users by generating a competition between them to get to the top. This program allows you a simplified certification path, extends the reach of your game by tapping into the 55 million Xbox Live users, and is open to anyone and available now. I encourage you to go check it out today. We want to help you make money off your games, so we've continued to improve the monetization tools in our store. Let's talk about 4 of the areas we made improvements in recently. Now, on your product description page, you can excite your users by including 4K assets and video trailers, as well as better inform your users by specifying gaming capabilities on your PDP, such as multiplayer or single player, or which Xbox Live services you've incorporated. We've also recently made improvements to sales. For example, you can now configure sales so you can offer a discount for your game for owners of another one of your games. Or you can make your game free for a weekend and return to paid on Monday. We've also made improvements to releasing your games. You can now schedule a precise date and time for your new game to release. And we also made enhancements to the ads platform. And developers are seeing better revenue from ads on Windows 10 using the Microsoft Ad monetization platform. And for all you app developers out there, don't worry. Most of these monetization tools are available to you as well. Let's watch a quick video highlighting all of these new tools. Live streaming games and esports have really taken off this year, and interactivity is the future of live streaming. We are so excited about live streaming that we acquired Mixer, formerly known as Beam, to help you take advantage of this. There are a few things that differentiate Mixer from its competitors. The first is its faster-than-light technology streaming protocol. Mixer is the only streaming service with near real-time latency. This allows viewers to not only chat in real time, but to also play with the broadcaster. The second one is interactivity, ranging from built-in sound and video boards to full interactive controls. The cool thing here is that viewer interaction can go way beyond the chat window. Mixer also supports 4-person co-streams, and Mixer is the only streaming service with this unique feature. This gives gamers a cool perspective on gameplay with up to 4 streams showing side by side, and a combined chat experience. Finally, native broadcasting. Mixer is the easiest live streaming platform to use. It is built into Windows 10 and Xbox One, so anyone can start streaming with just a few clicks. It is very easy for game developers to add Mixer interactivity to their game. We have SDKs for major game engines and languages, and you can make something cool in just 1 hour. I'm always looking for new, creative experiences that showcase the potential of interactivity. And Mixer offers access to major partners and influencers who can drive attention to new games. We can't wait to see what you do. Our goal is to create a community of indie game developers. We want to foster open relationships and discussions between developers and Windows and each other. With that in mind, we're bringing back Dream, Build, Play. And the 2017 challenge has a prize pool of over $250,000. This program offers you the opportunity to learn and grow with game development guides and Windows development guides, the opportunity to interact with other game developers via the developer community and community features of our contests, and the opportunity to participate in contests or challenges that make it possible to show off your talent and win some prizes. We recently made updates to the OS to expand the resources available to you and built better Visual Studio tools to use when developing. We also opened up Xbox to all developers with the Xbox Live Creators Program. We gave you more monetization tools in store, and we showed you how to incorporate Mixer to keep your users engaged. And if you needed any more motivation to build UWP games for Windows 10 and Xbox One, Dream, Build, Play is the program for you. What are you waiting for? It's a great time to go develop a UWP game. Thank you very much, and let's welcome back Kevin.
Thank you, Erin. Today we've shared important elements for how you can start building immersive, engaging, and modern applications which place the user at the center. Every day, we as developers are helping businesses through their digital transformation, or we're just making people laugh as they play games. However, I'd like to share a story about how one company uses the Windows platform to help students learn, and one person's commitment to impact millions of people's lives.
We all need to be understood. From our first moments, we're trying to be heard, to have a voice. We want to understand the world and be understood as the individuals we are. Language is the passport to communication and understanding, but literacy isn't a privilege we all enjoy equally. Children struggling to read and write can often lose confidence with lifelong consequences. If you're using a second language, it's easy to make mistakes or feel isolated at school or work. Learning difficulties like dyslexia can make everyday life frustrating. We believe that everyone deserves to be heard. Our technology helps people all over the world express themselves with greater confidence and fluency. Even if you're confident with words, a little extra help with routine tasks like checking your own writing can be very useful. Nothing thrills us more than hearing how we have changed lives for the better. Although we are different, everyone deserves the same chance to understand and be understood. From literacy to life. Text help.
Please welcome Martin McKay, co-founder and CTO of TextHelp, who will soon receive a Lifetime Achievement Award from the International Dyslexia Association.
Thank you, Kevin.
So, I understand that you've recently updated one of your applications to take advantage of the Universal Windows platform.
Yep. We needed to do it. Computing's changing in education as much as anywhere else, and we need to stay at the front of the pack on all of the platforms that we run on. And UWP allows us to manage a more portable code base, and it allows us to get to new markets sooner, and UWP is where that's at the moment. In fact, because of this kind of portable code base, we've been able to get our core Windows app converted to an Edge extension, and it's the first education-focused Edge extension in the Microsoft Store.
Awesome.
Can I show you?
I'd love to see it.
Cool. Let's have a look. So our core audience are kids with dyslexia and kids who are learning in their second language, and that can be as much as a quarter of the classroom. And these kids really struggle with comprehension, and they really struggle with writing. And we've got about 11 million users. And we can tell from analytics that they spend about 85% of their time in a browser. and they're not always using the same computer. So they can use a computer at school during the day. My own kids, 2 afternoons per week, they spend some time with their grandparents for childcare. They use a different PC there. At the weekend, they'll be at another grandparent's house and they use a different PC there. We have a few PCs around the house. So it's important for us that we reach kids whatever computer they walk up to. And having this Edge extension in the Microsoft Store allows any kid to get access to it on any computer that they go to. So I just want to jump in and show you this. So this is just a web page from the BBC. I'm not going to show you mixed reality. This is reality for a 12-year-old kid who can't read very well. So there's a story here about a butterfly swarm, but guess what? The story's not on the page. There are 50 hyperlinks. There are 60 hyperlinks on the page, and the story's not on the page. So this is just cognitive load that's difficult for people to consume. So if we press this little purple jigsaw piece, this little puzzle piece, you can see the read and write toolbar. And each one of these buttons on the toolbar provides some kind of literacy assistance, but right now, this page is just too difficult. So I'm going to press the simple button, simplify button. And what we do is get rid of all the complex stuff, get rid of all the images and hyperlinks, and we just display the text to let the kid get an easy start. If there's too much text, the kid can press the minus key and we'll summarize it, get rid of redundant text and make it even easier to consume. But first of all, what we want to do is help the kid understand this stuff so we can read it aloud. So if I click on it, hopefully we get some audio now.
Colorful, shimmering spectacle detected by weather radar over the state of Colorado has been identified as swarms of migrating butterfly.
So dyslexic people can understand things when they hear. They're just not very good at reading. And if I close my eyes and listen to that, I'm using my oral neural pathway. And I consume the information and I form a memory. If I kind of block up my ears and I read using my eyes, I use my visual pathway and I form a different memory. If I do both of those things at the same time, both those pathways are used, both memories are formed, and it increases the chance of recall, and it builds a link between what the word looks like and what the word sounds like. And it really improves comprehension. It actually improves comprehension by about 15% in kids who are struggling with reading. And the purpose of educational content is comprehension. We want kids to learn and understand. So it's an easy thing that we can do to really boost that. But often kids are encountering new words that they don't understand. So say the word radar, if I don't know what that word means, I can press the dictionary button and it'll pop it up. Let me just move that out of the way. And I can listen to that definition.
Noun.
I'm not going to read it out loud. But you can listen to any definition that you want. Also, for people who have English as a second language, allowing them to kind of get an image of what that word means is really useful. So you can see we can pop up a little symbol. So if I click on the word detected, or weather, or radar, or migrating, or butterflies, you can see we took a really horrible, I mean, I'm sure the BBC guys, are there any BBC web designers in the room? Okay. But for a dyslexic, struggling 12-year-old, that was a complex page. And we've turned it into a nice, easy page that's very, very easy to consume. And this allows kids to tackle complex content in a manageable way. Really, really helps them to learn. As well as reading, we want to help people to write as well. So how many of you guys use autocomplete in your IDE? Good few? How many people have sent a text message today and had your phone complete the word that you were trying to write? Most people? So what we're trying to do here is, or what we do is, bring that sort of support into kids' daily computing. So wherever they are, I'm going to show you this in Word here. I can just pop up the little prediction window. And this window, it can follow me around. I'm just going to dock it in one place. And if I type TH, you can see it's predicting. And I can say, this can help me understand or succeed, or whatever. So, and if I make a spelling mistake, dyslexic people make slightly weird spelling mistakes. If I type in F-O-N, you can see it's predicted phone. And if I press F1, it'll fix my spelling error. When kids use this, the University of Central Washington did a study on this. When kids use this, they write twice as much as kids who don't. And it can really, a reluctant writer, a kid who's afraid to write about what they want to write about because they'll make spelling mistakes, it can really give them the confidence to use some more advanced vocabulary. their spelling mistakes disappear because they only ever see correctly spelled text and grammatically appropriate text. And it's a really good, it really boosts their, their engagement in education. So at TextHelp, we're really trying to help, really trying to make a difference and help people to learn and express their knowledge more easily. And working with you guys and getting this stuff into the Microsoft Store is helping us reach more people.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing your story. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is a great reminder for us that when we place people at the center and build experiences that learn and adapt to them, we can make a positive difference in our customers' lives. So, in summary, I'd like to invite all of you to get started developing with the Windows 10 Fall Creators Update. You can install the SDK now. Please stay with us after this video for some live Q&A. Thank you.
You as developers, your applications is what shapes the evolution of platforms.
I see that spark of creativity in our Windows community around the world.
In many ways, it brings back the personal into personal computers.
There's so many crazy cool ideas that pop in my head.
Even with a very small team, we can have an outsized impact.
So that you get the best return on Microsoft platforms.
Fluent design system.
The universal Windows platform.
Windows analytics.
In Canvas, we're just excited about all the work that's been happening that we can now share it with the community.
It's so cool celebrating what you can do with technology.
Hi, welcome to Windows Developer Day, Fall Creators Update. I'm here with Thomas Fennell, and we're gonna just chit-chat quickly before the executive live Q&A. So if you have questions, please start queuing them up, because in a couple minutes we'll go straight to that. So Thomas, can you tell me a bit about what you work on?
Yeah, so I mean, I work in Andrew Klinick's team, but he was on stage today doing a little bit of modernization stuff, but we also do some customer engagement stuff, some of the cross-device stuff you saw at Project Rome, that kind of stuff is in his team.
Okay, so can you tell me a little bit about like user activities, when you'd use them, what you do with them?
Yeah, so I mean, you saw a little bit about user activities today in Timeline. I mean, user activities are a great way to help your customers re-engage, and they're going to show up in more and more Windows experiences, but that marquee one with Timeline is what you saw today.
Okay, you guys mentioned like be conscious of when you use a user activity to put it in there. So don't be spammy. So like a great example is every time a user clicks, you don't write to it.
Right.
Like what are some great examples of a user activity?
So, I mean, try and help your customers get back to the thing that they were doing. So I like to think of anytime there's a media scenario, like if you were listening to music or if you were watching a video and you didn't get to finish it, that's a great chance for an app to write a user activity. But there's other scenarios too, like Kevin showed. Even in line of business apps, there's a lot of opportunities for people to do some stuff and then kind of get partway through it, like the expenses app, and need a way easily to get back into it. And that is perfect.
Man, I would use that all the time in my own app. Looks like we're about ready to go to the executive Q&A, so let's go send it over there.
Welcome back. We are here, obviously, with the most important part, which is the Q&A. And one of the things that I love about Kevin is look, I'll tell you all this because you're here and people that are watching. I always say, is there anything I shouldn't ask? And he always says, you're good. And so we're pretty excited about it. The first thing I want to do is, because what they're going to do is they're going to get the questions from the audience. And so for those that are out there and want to have questions, please submit your questions. Those questions are going to come up on a screen for us, and we're going to look at it. But I took a couple of notes just to sort of review, right? Because there's a couple of things that I always like to ask. And so let's go through it. One of the things that was most exciting to me as I was watching this was this notion of mixed reality. Mm-hmm. Why is that such an important thing for Windows?
Well, I think it really, like I said, it changes the game. We've always thought about people being at the center and collaboration. And it's funny, when I talk to those who've been looking at apps, there is no mixed reality app that we really know that's not a collaborative app. In most cases, especially on HoloLens, it's about working with other people and bringing them into the environment. And it immerses you without sometimes taking away the real world.
Right.
Because we want the real world, but we want it with more. We want it with more details, we want to collaborate more. So I find this fusion of the physical and digital world amazing.
But once you do have mixed reality things, it changes the way we think about computers, right? Because it's no longer, because I've always been used to getting a mouse and a keyboard, etc. But now we move into this era of ambient computing, as they talked about in Ignite with mixed reality. How does that change how the OS needs to adapt?
Well, it sort of has to be built in at the fundamental layers, right? If you have to build different experiences, it gets complex to coordinate them. This is why you're seeing us introduce device coordination capabilities, where I can link in the different devices in my life. One being a mixed reality, which was more of a I'm viewing 3D, but I need interactions. We have 6-DoF controllers, we have pen. So we're integrating all these new inputs with that world and allowing you to use whatever's most productive. And it's really a combination. I'm using my 2 hands right now, and I'm glad I have 2 hands free. And sometimes, we're stuck using some tool that's inefficient for our usage. Other times, those are the best. Like we sometimes thought, oh, who needs a pen? I can just drop my finger. Yeah, not really. You need a pen sometimes, and you want your hand, and you want a combination of the two.
And it's not just that, but now we're talking about handing things off between different machines as well. And the Microsoft graph, you talked about device handoff, but there's a number of other things that allow you to seamlessly move through devices as if they don't care where we are.
Exactly. I mean, you can, I think Andrew showed it, where even like the executable code can migrate from either running in the cloud or running on the client or moving between your devices. I can use whichever one is most appropriate. Now, it's not always simple to build these things. And so we're trying to give more and more tools to take that cognitive load off the developer and let them focus on what their app is trying to do and what customer they're trying to reach.
So, and that necessitates not just multiple devices, but now the way we interact, the way things feel and look have to change as well. Why don't you speak to that? Because you did there was a little bit of demo on that as well.
Right, obviously. Fluent, we think, in some ways when we conceived of Fluent, it was mixed reality that pushed us to say, hey, we've seen things on desktop, we've seen things on mobile, but everybody wants depth, they want, in a sense, an immersion. So I always thought people like, acrylic? It's kind of, what is acrylic?
Yeah.
But then without acrylic, you start to scale between the devices, you don't get a concept of depth. And yet, in our world, depth is so critical. I mean, our eyes literally, our brain spends so much time reconstructing depth out of what really is almost flat views from our eyes, because depth gives us so much. I remember the Mars, when I saw the Mars, we didn't show it, but what the Mars guys used to have to look at was these 2D flat images, and in their head reconstruct 3D. When we actually made 3D out of it, their brains consumed it instantly. You could look at it going, wow, I can know what this is. And your productivity went exponentially high.
Right.
And I think Fluent is about bridging that world so you can bring experiences that make users just more productive, sometimes not even knowing it.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time working out to deconstruct my own 3D depth. Here's the first question. Will the new SDK contain the UWP tree view control? Boy, I feel really old reading it from this far away. I don't know about you. Can you see that?
I can read that,
Oh,
yes.
well, see? He's
I
younger
can't
than
see
me.
close, but hey, I can see far away.
So tree view for UWP.
Tree view, I'm trying to remember if tree view is, I don't think tree view is actually in the Fall Creators Update yet, but it'll be in preview later.
Okay. The next question is there any option to develop for
Is
both
it in or
Windows? There, thumbs up.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But it'll
It's
be soon.
coming.
Like I said.
It's coming. Should I do my reduce my 3D depth joke again? Because I thought that was really good. Is there any option to develop for both Windows 10 PC and Xbox with a same code base rather than sharing libraries with the Visual Studio 2017 for gaming? Sharing libraries between Windows 10 and Xbox.
Actually, I would think using the same code base and sharing libraries, I don't know the difference. I would think it. So I'll describe the way it works, because those two things sound like the same to me. Basically, you can reuse the exact same code written to the same APIs. That's what UWP promises, is we have the same APIs across all those devices, and you can build, in essence, portable class libraries directly to UWP. I mean, the reality with Xbox is because most of the games even use the same APIs on Xbox and Windows, usually the same exact code will run on both almost unchanged. And we have many of our games which really don't change much. Now, every game tunes. Actually, a good game developer sometimes even tunes for the graphics cards.
Right.
They'll look at the performance and they'll adjust their game based on CPU capability and that. But that tends to be different than changing code. That just tends to be adapting to performance capabilities. So there'll be some tuning that you'll probably do for the Xbox, but in general, the code really should run on both.
So recently there was a move to Net Standard 2.0. Is that part of the promise of making everything work across all the devices in Windows?
Yeah, and .NET Standard 2.0 is, on Windows, it's really UWP, which is even a broader API set than .NET Standard 2.0. .NET Standard 2.0 allows you to actually share the same code with iOS and Android, with cloud, to even Linux on the back end. That's a standard for all of .NET across wherever .NET goes, which is really broad. And UWP is about building for all of the Windows 10 endpoints and being able to share some huge percentage of your code. But again, I always want to be careful to say it's identical. You should always tune for the device you're targeting in some way, because sometimes you go, oh, it's just exactly the same experience. All of our controls, we spend time in the controls tuning them per device, per input. Now, you typically don't have to because we'll do some of the heavy lifting.
Right.
But if you're writing a game and you're owning the gameplay, make sure that's tuned to your device.
So there's a way when you're writing your application to target some core essential bits of your game, program, whatever, to net standard. But then when you move out to UWP space, there's a lot more that you can take advantage of as well.
And we even expanded. So we've been adding all those APIs. We've added a bunch of Win32 and .NET APIs, making it easier to share even code that came from like Windows 7. So if you're migrating from Windows 7, you can share more of that code as you move in, build a modern application that goes to Xbox, to HoloLens, and beyond.
Awesome. Next question from Boston. With the SDK being available before the official release, will the Apex compiled on the fast ring 16299.15? This is really good stuff. Like they're asking version number.
Be publishable, or do we need to wait for the fall creators update? You can build against it. You can actually use the creators update to actually build your apps. You can't test them there other than, like, say, in the simulator. But you can actually go and build them using the latest tools. You don't have to have the latest version of the OS to build the latest tools. You should get it from the inside fast ring, go test it, validate it. That way you're in the store right on launch day.
I see. So right now, if you want to build stuff for the Fall Creators Update, which is coming out soon, you can do it right now. You can test it on the fast ring, and then it'll be ready.
And you can even just use it. Most people don't upgrade their build servers to the fast ring.
Right.
They use those typically on a previous version that's quite stable, and the new version comes out, they'll build servers. So your build servers can still produce it, test it, and validate it on this fast ring.
And if you're using something like VSTS, I'm sure their build servers have whatever flavor
Exactly.
you need. Okay. Next question is being hidden by the 3 new notifications. So I'll move on to the next question while that, oh, here it is. Will the SDK be offered on the Visual Studio update?
I think it will be, not today. Today, I think you'll have to go to a link and download it.
I see.
But
So,
when VS updates it, there'll be an update that goes through the channel. But I don't think today you have to go to the website and download it.
well, they're typing something at us. It's available today.
It is in the Visual Studio update itself or from a link? If they got it working, I know. Yes, great.
Oh, good.
I know it was on the line. They were working to get in the update. I wasn't sure.
They were trying to tell us so hard that they spelled yes, E-Y-S.
Yes.
Just FYI, which is a foreign spelling, I know.
Eyes and eyes.
The next question, hopefully they can scroll down for me. Is there any option to develop for both Windows 10 PC and
That was already asked.
Xbox with the same? Okay, we already did that one. All right, let's move up. Question from, we already did that one. So as we're moving on, because we already asked these questions, we want your questions to come in. I had another question about gaming.
Yes.
And UWP. So when I'm building a UWP game, do the bits transfer over to the Xbox seamlessly, or are there certain things that I do? Is there a particular SDK that I should be using?
It's actually the same as the UWP SDK. And you can go build actually a single binary that will run on both.
On the Xbox
on the
and
Xbox
Windows 10.
and on Windows. If you choose to go do that, you can also do an optimized binary that if you wanted. So it's the exact same SDK, the exact same tool chain. It all just builds. It's really the promise of UWP. And really the first time you'll be able to do that for Xbox is when we introduced it with UWP. Today we added more updates, but it's been something we've supported now for quite some time.
That's amazing. All right, next question.
What came different today is for games, let's separate apps. A lot of people go build the apps. The games didn't have access to all the resources on the Xbox.
Okay.
And they do now. And that's what Aaron announced is now your games can get access to 6 cores, 5 gigabytes of RAM, enabling you to build much higher performance games, where before it was limited to how many cores it could get access to.
And so when I do that for UWP, I have to, is there like an if-def I have to
No.
do to say, okay, it just does it?
Yeah.
That was the easiest question I ever asked. Will there be UWP extensions so that our apps can reach out, interact with mixed reality?
So you basically can build a UWP app, and that's how you build apps for both HoloLens and for the VR headsets. So if you're building UWP, that's how you can go and build mixed reality applications.
So it's just, it is
there.
what it is.
That is the basis of those platforms. That's really the only apps you can run on HoloLens.
So the more I'm thinking about what you're saying is I'm feeling like there's like a base set of functionality for any particular app. And then once you have that base, there's adaptations you need to make for whatever. Like, for example, I made a little robot that learned how to drive on its own on a Raspberry Pi using UWP and Windows 10, but I'm not going to build like a stunning, beautiful, huge 3D UI on that.
Right, and this is where I think we spend time. That's why we talk about Fluent a lot, about tuning it for the device experience and the inputs and outputs. And I'll be honest, it's more the inputs than the outputs. And there is mixed reality, which the 3D is sort of different, but most of the 2D, it's the input that defines it. And even in 3D, you have to do gaze. To be honest, like, your hand is not the most, precise tool out there.
Yeah,
so you
my
got to
wife
be careful.
says that all the time to me when I mow the lawn. It's just, I've ruined hedges.
But when you're doing things, you need to adapt to gaze, for gesture, for touch, and you just got to make sure it feels right to the end user on that device. So the business logic can be shared, but the user experience, we say you should really tune it, make sure it's optimal for each device.
And this is interesting, right? Because the more I think about the way computing is changing, the more I'm thinking, like, I've adapted to computers, but now they need to adapt to us, right? Because I saw your spectrum of like devices. There was one that you just talk to it. And there's others where you interact with it with gestures. There's others where you might have a keyboard, and you need to be cognizant of that.
And it's too hard. Users are not going to use devices that they have to keep learning and learning. And the more of these devices they have in their life, I mean, I talk to different family members or different friends who are like, oh, I just can't learn this thing anymore. I don't want to. I want it to just kind of help figure out what I'm doing and over time learn more. This is why Satya talks so much about AI. It is my opinion that every new input type has to be matched with AI that really, really adapts to us and learns. And we're spending a lot of time with a lot of our ink recognition to make sure that as you're drawing, it makes you better. And stuff that Paul said, hey, I don't have trouble handwriting, and yet I can start writing and it can still recognize me and learn. And we're actually doing work to make it so as you use handwriting more, we'll learn your handwriting, your bad handwriting, and be better predicting what you were trying to go right.
So that's where I would use the 6 cores on the Xbox to learn my horrible handwriting. It's terrible. Right?
But it's about adapting to the human and making them more productive. And then the more devices in your life, the better you feel. Versus right now, some people feel very overwhelmed with the number of devices, even the remote controls on the TV and the cable box. Like, everybody's sitting there fighting over who understands how to use the remote.
Yeah, and I'm getting to the age where I no longer know how things work, and my kids have to tell me. It's really embarrassing.
I got a new one. I was
But not
confused.
so much. They laugh at me all the time. Why does Net Standard 2 require Fall Creators Update and above? What is the reason behind it technically?
Basically, there was so for .NET Standard 2.0, we had to add new APIs into Windows, and those are built deeply into the platform and enable those APIs on the platform and make them fully compatible with the .NET 2 standard. So basically, there was a new API capabilities built into the operating system that we exposed.
And we talked about this because we had a community meeting where we talked about that. It's all the functionality was there. It was just the API bridges that you needed to.
A lot of that. It was like 20,000 APIs we added. So it was a lot of APIs. We tested them a lot to make sure that they're fully interoperable. And a lot of them were just built in, and other ones. See, there's some cases where we call broker the APIs. Mm-hmm. We don't want you to directly call some of them because we need to place some security boundaries. For example, a mic is something that if you don't broker access, you can't put there's a lot of people who want to know when the mic's on, and we don't want apps calling it without some signal to user. And in some regions, there's a law that says your PC or your device must let you know when there's a mic on. So you're always, always given it. And so we had to add, for some of these cases, we had to add some low-level OS so that there could be ensured privacy that previously had not been there. And so that's really critical to us as a company, that we are supporting the user having control of what apps can go do. And it's something over time we're building, more and more, enforcement into Windows, so the user doesn't feel like their device can invade their privacy.
And that's really interesting because I thought literally you just did forwarders to the, the native calls.
We did for a lot.
But in some cases, you're actually doing brokered protection, checking access, etc.
Right, and that's some reasons why we had removed them, is we had some security concerns for them, and when we added them back, we had to make sure they were compatible, yet still make sure they keep our customer promise of having their privacy and security and safety.
Awesome. Next question, with a big emphasis on the new app packaging of desktop apps. Any chance you'll add some improvements to WPF and improve DirectX 11 integration with WPF, better, faster composition, like what UWP? I think we get the gist of the question.
So one of the things we're looking at is enabling you to leverage some of the new UI that we have, the new XAML UI, inside of a WPF application. So we are looking at trying to do that in a future version. There is not in the Fall Creators Update, but it's something we've heard from customers that they want to be able to leverage some of that in their existing applications. So we're looking at and looking for feedback on how the best way to go do that to move forward those who want to take advantage of some of the new user experiences in these older applications. Today we talked about how you can really get the installer updated, get access to all the new APIs like Pen and Touch, and you can talk all the Roam stuff that we talked about with Device Relay and Activity Feed. So as a WPF app, you get access to all of those APIs once you've adopted the new installer. And we are looking in the future at how to add more capability to make that, that movement and that modernization experience better.
So I work for Contoso, as you know. If I want to move my WinForm, a great company, yeah. If I want to move my point of sales app forward, and it's WinForms, I just add is that what I saw? I just add the installer package, and then it just does the package, and you can put it in the store.
Yeah, previously you had to do, if you were using one of like Install Shield, those actually supported that.
Right.
But we didn't support it directly in VS without some of those. And so we've added direct support in Visual Studio, mainly for your developer workflow. So it's just an easy, simple output when you go to Visual Studio Online or your own build servers. It can produce the AppX. And the nice thing is that AppX can be your installer for all Windows 10 devices, whether you choose to go to the store or not. So if you choose to deploy from your website, you want to do any other technology for deploying it, AppX is still by far the best deployment technology. It's seamless, it uninstalls cleanly, and people say, well, hey, who wants to uninstall my app? Well, how many people have had their app uninstalled when someone tries to reinstall it because there was a problem with it? It doesn't reinstall cleanly, and then they complain, and then they walk away and try some other app. So a clean uninstall sometimes is the fastest way to reacquiring the customer if they were in a bad state. And the uninstall for AppX is absolutely clean, leaves nothing in the registry, and there's really nothing better than that for a clean, and we keep it updated, and it's a nice update mechanism.
And then I don't have to flatten my PC every 6 months, which I usually
do.
Here's the next question. If my clock is right, we are almost out of time, but they will tell me, where can I find tutorials, books, or other sources to learn how to program with this?
I would go do a search for how to develop with UWP. That's the easiest way to go find those resources.
So yeah, just go Google with Bing and you'll find it right away.
Search.
Dev.windows.com for where to learn. Channel 9 is also a great spot. Like we do a community stand-up probably once a quarter, at least, sometimes every other month. And so we also have in-depth videos following this Q&A. And so you'll be able to watch some stuff. And so they're going to type at me if we have any more time. There's one more question below. I want to get that one. With the big emphasis on the new, we already did that one. The last question I want to ask is this. With people having to invest in moving forward, why should I, as a developer, choose to move forward with UWP? Why do I need to do it? What is changing about computing that necessitates this change, and how can I do it in an economical way? That was like 5 questions.
It's 5 questions. When I think about this modernization, and we started using that term because I don't think it's something that is a one-time. We've tried to move a little bit away from bridge because it seems to say there's a point A and a point B, and you move over it and you're done. The world is evolving around us, and modernization is something that happens all the time. We're learning, we're growing, we're developing as human beings, and then hopefully it never stops.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think our children hit an age and they stop ever maturing, but hopefully we get them over that hump. And I think it's the same thing for us. Modernization is a journey that we're always on, and we're going to need tools to make it more and more efficient to keep up, because the world's expanding more capabilities faster than most of us can learn the technologies. And Windows is working hard, both modernizing our platform, giving you the tools, the experiences, something like Fluent, where not everyone can go hire a designer. So you can just use our controls built in and get all of that very easily, and not have to go become an expert in design, an expert in input, an expert in writing. You can go focus on what's important for you as a business. We're investing in AI, we're investing in ML, we're investing in all these different technologies that hopefully you can just leverage either our platform or our services that will basically give you a leap forward on the competition, where you can bring your expertise and we can bring our expertise to the table.
I love that. I mean, effectively you're saying that everyone's expecting different things from computers now, or for computation, or from devices. We're here to help you move forward, if you so choose. If you don't want to move forward, I guess that's okay, but everyone else will.
Yes, exactly. You can just go backwards then.
Awesome. Well, I think we are about out of time. My name is Seth Juarez here with Kevin Gallo. Wonderful questions. There are a ton of videos coming up that are going to talk all about some of the stuff that's been talked about today, a little bit more in depth. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.